To say that I've been waiting since CES 2023 to check out these pair of buds is an understatement at best. I'm talking about these guys. Let's go ahead and play the video.
These are the best wireless buds that I found at CES 2023. These are the
And what we're talking about obviously is the Voyager 360 Plus UC buds from Poly. I saw them early in 2023 and I finally have them here in the studio. I've been using them and I've actually had the opportunity to even travel with them to Singapore. And one of the things I'll say about these that other buds don't show or obviously are featuring on the market right now is that not only do the buds work great, we have touch and button configuration on the buds, but we also have configurations on the actual case to not only use it to control the buds and the music experience on our phone, but to actually use it as a transmitter. Yes, this will turn any solution, be it a PC, even if it has a headphone jack, it will turn it into a Bluetooth transmitting experience. Let's talk about the Poly buds and why they are literally one of my favorite travel buds right now. Like and subscribe and make sure you hit that bell icon so they are always notified to whenever we have new videos on the channel. So this is pretty much everything we get in the box. We have a few instruction manuals, there's the quick guide, there's personalize your experience, there's a USB-C to USB Type-A to charge our actual case, and of course the case itself does support USB-C. And one of the nice things as well is that it also supports wireless charging, so you can charge this directly from either Qi charger or directly with USB-C. We also have this unique cable that allows us to transmit or turn this case into a transmitter, and that's USB-C to TRX connector here, and that allows us to put it into a headphone jack on the airplane and make it an airplane seat finally Bluetooth connected, regardless of where you're traveling. You are in control of the technology that you're using. Last but not least, we also have a few buds here. It allows us to actually configure the experience. Now, when you first get this, they have the medium buds on them, and then they obviously go to the large or small. I've already converted it over to the large one, so that's just one thing to keep in mind. You can keep the rest in the case in case you want to be able to change them later on. But the case itself, as you can see here, it is made for iPhone and for iPad, but it also works obviously with Android. It's not just purely for them, but it is optimized to run with them there. The case is very small, it's very compact. It has a display on it that you're able to interact. Sorry for the fingerprints. There's the word Poly there, flat on the bottom, wireless charging. On the back, we have the pairing button as well as obviously the USB-C charging cable. And then of course, when you open it, you're greeted directly with the buds themselves, right and left. And this one features a USB-A connector, although from what I understand is depending on the market that these are available for, some of them may have a USB-C. This one only has USB-A. It is magnetically configured in here, so they are not going to drop out if you open it up. And of course, there are connectors on the bottom here to be able to charge both the right and left ear. But otherwise, you're pretty much set. Just as long as you keep this cable with you, anything that you use will be able to connect to it. If it has obviously a 3.5mm headphone jack, you're able to connect to it directly to the back of the actual case and turn it into a transmitter mode. And of course, we're going to talk about that and how that worked for me on the airplane. And as far as what we get with the case, it's pretty straightforward. It is a display on the case. If you touch it, it turns on, automatically gives you the battery level on the case and the buds themselves, and if they're charging. You can close that, and you obviously are greeted directly with the battery level. That's where we were before. If I actually want to be able to interact with the rest of them, I definitely want to take the buds out. So let's go ahead and take the buds out and put them on the table. So it's going to assume that they're actually being used. We'll give it a second. You notice now is that it's starting to turn on the different functionalities that we hear. Also, one of the things you want to be aware of, you are able to lock the display so that you are not accidentally turning on and doing things to it. So that's one thing to keep in mind. You have obviously a music player that's going to take you to be able to control the music back and forth, as well as the volume level on the actual buds. Very, very nice. The ability of turning on A and C, we have adaptive, standard, and of course off, and you're able to turn it on. And last but not least, you also have the ability of configuring the microphones on here. You have transparency environment. You're able to go to speech that focuses on your conversation. And of course, you could just turn it off. And last but not least is just environmental audio. Now, next thing, if we swipe to the right, we have Bluetooth connectivity. And of course, we have the ability of configuring the audio sources. We are able to connect this to multiple things. You see here, the Pixel 8 Pro and the OnePlus Open are the two last devices that I've connected. And I can, of course, pair other ones and switch the configuration that we want. If we want to be able to jump back here real quick, speaker-wise, we talked about that. That's for the audio. And Bluetooth connectivity is pretty much straightforward. Pair a device, so meaning you're adding a new one, or become a BT transmitter. Now, this requires the USB-C connector on the back connected to a source, an audio source that you're able to connect to. So be it your laptop, your TV, anything like that. For me, the big thing even back at CES, I wanted to use it on an airplane. And it's like 90% of what my problem is every time I travel. We always have to use those wired connected buds, and that just always never made sense to me why we don't have Bluetooth. This solves the entire problem, and of course you can go in there and customize it. Last but not least, You can scan the QR code and that will allow you to download the app that's made directly or specifically for your device. And if you want to be able to use it directly with the PC or the much more lower latency experience, you're able to use this USB-A connector. And again, depending on the market that you're in, you may actually get one that is USB-C. The one that I have, unfortunately, is USB-A, which makes it so that it's hard for me to use with my laptop that's all USB-C. But for the most part, actually, I get a better experience when I'm using them directly as pair buds with a built-in transmitter. Now, when it comes down to the actual buds, there's a couple of configurations. First and foremost, obviously, we have a button configuration to basically play and pause. The microphones that are positioned here, 3 microphones positioned on each earbuds itself. And we also have the ability of using touch control to be able to raise and lower the volume on here. So not only do we have a button configuration to be able to configure to control the actual buds, but we also have the ability of doing a touch-sensitive area to be able to raise and reduce the volume. Again, make sure you marry the right ear tips to the actual buds so that it has a nice fit directly within your ears so that you get the best active noise cancellation. And of course, we have a proximity sensor to be able to pause and play back the music whenever you have them in your ears and you take them out. And there it is. We go ahead and just 1, 2, 3, and we unlocked the case. The case itself does have a 580 milliampere battery, and each earbud has 70 milliampere batteries. It is rated basically to go 0 to 100% in about 3 hours with a USB-C connection, and up to 5.5 hours of talk time, which is actually pretty decent, and of course a very long battery life, depending on what you're using with active noise cancellation, of course. Listening to music, obviously, it's longer, up to 8 hours with active noise cancellation turned on. Pretty straightforward. To be able to obviously see the settings, we do need to have them out of the case, so we'll go ahead and take them out and give it a second to connect. The application should be able to pick up directly all the information that we get out of the case. As you can see here, the case itself shows all the information that we're getting here, but here, for some reason, we're missing the battery on the case. Not a problem. The buds themselves are 100%. They are connected. There is a couple of options we're able to do. You have obviously the instruction if you want to be able to go through that, but when it goes to settings, this is where it becomes very unique. This is where it's the heritage of getting some of the stuff from Poly when using them in the office, or some of the other solutions that they're putting out there from Plantronics, or back when they used to be called Plantronics. This is definitely what they're bringing over here. So language support, you're able to customize the language, and you can go in there and customize the experience in the app itself. Go in there and set that up. As far as general, we have mute reminder mode, which audible reminder here and there, notification tones, on and off alerts, and of course, second incoming call. And of course, last but not least, is the equalizer to customize the audio experience that you get in there. So we have the ability of checking out ringtone, the side tone, medium level, volume level tones, and of course, volume min max alerts as well in here. Last but not least, next thing obviously is custom swipe functionality. Right now, when it's idle, you're able to go in there and change between ANC and transparency mode. In call, you can mute and unmute. And of course, when you're streaming music or listening to music, it becomes into a volume. That's the swipe functionality on the side, as I mentioned to you guys. Sensors and preferences, pretty straightforward. Wearing sensor turned on, active call audio, of course. Answer, auto answer, if you want to be able to, as soon as you take them out, put them in your ears, it'll answer the call for you. You can disable that there. And auto pause music if you take them out of your ears. Pretty much a straightforward experience the way you'd expect it. And under the advanced section, we get a little bit more unique features. So this is something that is interesting from an industry standard, limiting the audio levels so that you don't get any kind of high volume bursts in some areas when you're listening to commercials or watching content where there's some type of action scene and the audio typically will just boost up to a high level. You don't want to damage your ears. Audio limiting gets you pretty much the same experience, the ability of limiting the audio up to 85 or 80 degrees or 80 decibels so that you basically are able to take care of your ears for an extended amount of time. And last but not least, of course, is how many hours a day do you want to spend on or listening to audio? You can customize that. 8 hours actually is the longest that we get there. Active noise cancellation is pretty straightforward. As we saw it on the actual case, you're able to customize it there. And when it comes down to audio, you can turn it on from either off, environmental, or speech. Speech should give you the best audio, although I'm going to give you guys a quick example of an audio recording using the Pixel 8 Pro so you can hear definitely how these microphones sound. Voice prompts and tones, you can customize those for call announcement, incoming call alerts, and of course active audio tone. This is just something to keep in mind. It's more of a preference. You want them on, keep them on. And of course, last but not least, is to reset the actual experience. Now, as far as the usability of this, it's pretty straightforward. Putting them on and using them like a regular pair of buds is pretty good. They do recommend you putting the boom of the actual earbud itself to face towards your mouth so that it gets the best audio and it's actually able to pick up the best experience for you. Also, that'll give you the best seal sitting within your ears. Keep in mind, we have gesture control on the side as well as a button configuration, and that allows us to actually be able to control the actual experience here. But again, depending on what you're doing, that volume, that swipe on the actual area here changes experiences. If you're listening to music, obviously it's going to give you the ability of doing volume up and volume down. If you're in a call, it'll mute and unmute. And of course, if you're doing nothing, for the most part, it changes between active noise cancellation and obviously transparency mode. So the things that basically it's trying to do are more smart and more, I guess, environmental awareness of what you're doing. But let's go outside real quick and let me give you guys a quick sample of the audio from these mics. We're outside now and we're going to do a quick audio sample of obviously the new Polys. The big thing I'll probably say about this is these are one of the most versatile pieces of earbuds that you've ever seen or you will ever actually have the opportunity to use. What I like about them is not only do we have the button configuration, but we also have the ability of raising it and lowering the volume on them. So whenever you're on the go, you're never going to miss a beat. And these are great for obviously online meetings, recording audio, but not only that, listening to audio with them on a plane, in a car. I'm actually able to, as I was going to show you guys in some of the examples, is actually use them to convert an airplane seat into having Bluetooth, especially when you only have those little plugs. This actually makes it very functional, and the case works as a controller. As you heard there, the audio is absolutely fantastic. Some of the best sounding microphones that we've had. Again, 3 on each ear. The biggest thing I'll probably say is when we're trying to kind of take it back and understand what these are intended for, they're intended for phone calls, they're intended for video calls. So Zoom, Teams, they're certified for those. And of course, the ability to be able to actually integrate them with the functionalities that we get in there makes them very unique. Now, when it comes down to the audio, we talked about the fact that this actually obviously are earbuds, so we should be able to listen to music. I actually want to talk to you guys real quick about the controls that we get here, because on the actual case itself, as you can see here, I'm actually able to start the music. And one of the biggest things I can see here, let's go ahead and start the music. And it actually controls the phone. So it's very much a similar experience to what you think of from your watch. But the biggest thing about this is when you're using this and you're using it to augment the experience, because you can control almost the different aspects of it without having to turn on your phone. And I think that's the unique experience. It's almost like the case itself is sitting between the phone and the actual buds themselves, which makes it very unique there. But let's talk about a little bit about what makes this unique for me as far as traveling and using that transmitter functionality. We can, as I said before, connect to multiple sources at the same time, have dual connection configuration in there. But the ability of using the transmitter function, and it is literally as simple as you connect the cable that's provided with you into a 3.5mm headphone jack audio out port and connect it to the back of the actual Poly. And from there, you're pretty much going to just get the option to turn on transmit mode under Bluetooth. And it does become basically a Bluetooth transmitter for these buds. And it only works directly with these buds. The one thing I did find though, while I was on the airplane, is that I needed to raise the volume all the way to 100% on the actual unit itself for them to sound somewhat around like maybe the 40 to 50%. And I think that could also be the fact because of obviously the environmental noise. The airplane has a lot more, I think, white noise type of an experience. So there was a lot more interferences going on. But once I did that, the audio was absolutely fantastic. I was able to watch my movies with my buds and not have to worry about it. And of course, the unique experience there is that this isn't unique to that specific seat. Anytime you travel, anytime you get to an experience where you don't want to connect your device to something, but you do have obviously access to a 3.5mm headphone jack, you do have the option of using it. Conversely, of course, if you want to be able to do this the old ways, you can just connect the provided adapter onto your PC, be it a Mac or PC, and it'll recognize it as an audio transmitter. It'll transmit the audio directly to the case, and the case connects to the buds. Let's switch over to talk about range and performance, of course. So first and foremost, we have a very limited type of an EQ experience here. We have pretty much just 3. One is bass, which obviously is for me, for dance, EDM type of music, is definitely going to be really good. It's not going to be the most bassiest experience. This is not going to be tuned similar to some of the buds that you pick up on the market that are definitely very heavy on the bass. These are really focused to be kind of a well all-rounder type of an experience. Plus being very functional in the way for it to work with almost every situation. You have to be able to get audio transmitted to an earbud to you. So be it connected wire, be it obviously connected via USB-A, it'll work for you perfectly. Or if you want to just use it as a regular Bluetooth connected device. The biggest thing I would say probably on range, it is actually pretty decent at Bluetooth 5.3. It actually got us pretty good. I was able to leave it in my office, go to the kitchen, go to the living room with multiple walls between me and the phone, and of course the case, and I had no problems at all. So I think that's the biggest experience there. Range is not going to have any problems. Audio performance, I'll probably say, is again not the most bassiest experience, but you're able to feel some of that dance music. So if you're into dance music, watching movies with a lot of action, this isn't going to disappoint. But again, keep in mind what the experience that's being set here. It is trying to be a well all-rounder office, play, and gaming and content, and and obviously watching movies and so on type of a solution. And I feel like it succeeds in all of those areas. When I saw it in the beginning of the year, the biggest thing I was worried about is how did they sound, because they weren't letting me listen to music on them. And I'm actually kind of surprised with the way that worked. So charging it via wire, charging it via wireless, everything that you think of a feature that's built into a pair of buds, it's in here, on top of the fact that the case works as a controller and a transmitter whenever you need it. Let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think of the brand new Poly Buds? And have you thought about picking up a pair of buds that's dedicated to give you more than what you've seen on the market right now? Because I feel like what we're getting here is a very unique experience that only Poly can deliver. Again, Plantronics has been around for many, many years in the business offices, and at least for me, I've always used them as my headsets at work. And now having a solution from them under Poly, you know, it's something that really makes it very unique for me, because it talks to me at something that I've relied on for years for great audio experience, and now it's available for all of us to check out. Like and subscribe as usual. Thank you very much for the support. I'll see you in the next one.